In the heart of Telangana, in the historic city of Warangal, stands one of India's most remarkable architectural wonders, the 1,000-Pillar Temple. A masterpiece that has stood for nearly 8 centuries, this temple is not just a place of worship, it's a living symbol of ancient Indian engineering, art, and spirituality. Built during the reign of King Rudradeva in the 12th century, the temple reflects the glorious Kakatiya Dynasty, a period when architecture, sculpture, and devotion flourished together in perfect harmony. The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva, Vishnu, and Surya, making it a Trikutalaya, or three-shrine temple, a rare example of spiritual inclusivity in ancient India. Every corner, every pillar, and every carving of this temple tells a story. The 1,000 pillars, carved from granite and basalt, are not just structural elements. They are expressions of art and precision. What's even more fascinating is that none of these pillars obstruct the view of the main deity. An extraordinary architectural achievement even by today's standards. The carvings here depict scenes from Hindu mythology, graceful dancing figures, majestic animals, and intricate floral designs. Each sculpture seems to be frozen in time, whispering tales of devotion and craftsmanship that have survived for centuries. The artisans of the Kakatiya era were masters not only of stone, but also of mathematics and geometry, creating perfect symmetry and balance without modern tools. One of the temple's main attractions is the monolithic Nandi, carved from a single block of black basalt. The Nandi faces Lord Shiva, symbolizing eternal devotion and protection. It is polished so finely that even after centuries, it still shines like black glass, reflecting the skill of the ancient sculptors. The entire temple stands on a raised platform called the star-shaped Jagati, an elevated base that represents stability and divinity. This design allowed devotees to perform pradakshina, a ritual circumambulation around the sanctum, creating a spiritual connection through movement and architecture. The temple once stood at the heart of Hanamkonda, one of the twin cities that formed the Kakatiya capital. Though time and invasions have caused damage, what remains today continues to inspire architects, historians, and travelers from across the world. The Archaeological Survey of India has worked tirelessly to preserve this priceless heritage, ensuring that its stories endure for generations to come. The 1,000-Pillar Temple is more than just stone and sculpture. It embodies the ancient knowledge of design, sound, and energy. The alignment of its shrines, the use of specific materials, and the rhythmic placement of pillars show how deeply the builders understood both science and spirituality. As the sun sets behind the temple, and the golden light dances across its carvings, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe. This monument stands as a bridge between the past and the present, reminding us of what human creativity can achieve when guided by faith and wisdom. The 1,000-Pillar Temple is not just a treasure of Telangana. It is a testament to India's ancient knowledge, devotion, and artistic excellence. A symbol of timeless beauty that continues to speak to every soul that walks through its stone corridors. The 1,000-Pillar Temple. Echoes of stone, spirit, and science. The entire temple stands on a raised, star-shaped platform called the Jagati. It isn't just a base. It's a symbolic foundation representing the connection between the divine and the earthly realm. This structure allowed devotees to perform pradakshina, or circumambulation, around the sanctum, a spiritual act symbolizing the cycle of life and the eternal nature of the universe. But what truly sets the thousand-pillar temple apart is how spiritual belief merges seamlessly with scientific design. Ancient architects understood the behavior of light, sound, and space. They placed each shrine and pillar in a way that enhanced both acoustics and energy flow within the temple. This is why even a faint chant or bell echo feels deeply resonant inside. It's not magic, it's precision engineering. The thousand pillars themselves are not identical. Each carries its own story, depicting scenes from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puranas. Some portray royal processions, some divine dances, and others floral patterns inspired by nature. It's said that no two pillars are exactly the same, showcasing the individuality of each sculptor and the creativity of their art. The carvings were made using interlocking joints without modern adhesives or cement. The artisans used a method called sandbox technology to balance the heavy stone structures. This ancient vibration dampening technique allowed the temple to withstand centuries of natural wear and even minor earthquakes. Historians and archaeologists have long marveled at how the builders achieved such mathematical precision in the 12th century. Every pillar aligns perfectly with others to form rhythmic, geometric patterns. The temple faces east, ensuring that the first rays of the sun fall directly on the presiding deity at dawn, symbolizing the divine awakening of energy. Even the rock polishing method remains a mystery. Some surfaces are so smooth that they reflect light like mirrors, suggesting the use of fine abrasives or natural mineral polishing techniques lost to time. The sculptures of dancers and musicians are not merely decorative. They represent the deep connection between art and devotion in Indian temple culture. Temples were once centers of learning, art, and music, not just places of worship. The thousand-pillar temple likely hosted classical performances and spiritual discourses, blending culture and faith. Several Sanskrit and Telugu inscriptions found on the walls reveal information about the Kakatiya kingdom, its rulers, donors, and temple rituals. King Rudradeva, who commissioned this temple, envisioned it as a reflection of Kakatiya prosperity and power. His reign marked a golden era of temple building, trade, and education in the Deccan region. The Kakatiyas were known for their egalitarian approach, supporting both Shaivism and Vaishnavism equally. This temple, dedicated to Shiva, Vishnu, and Surya, symbolizes that spirit of unity. It represents how ancient Indian society celebrated diversity within faith, an idea far ahead of its time. The temple's construction materials, mainly black basalt and granite, were transported from quarries miles away. Artisans carved and assembled each component manually using chisels, stone wedges, and primitive pulleys. Yet the precision of alignment rivals that of modern architectural tools. The roof, made using tray-beat architecture, involves massive stone slabs balanced perfectly without mortar, relying only on weight and geometry. Even the drainage and ventilation systems were planned carefully to maintain the temple's structural integrity. Centuries later, the temple faced invasions, natural wear, and neglect. Many of its parts collapsed or were damaged over time. However, extensive restoration work by the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, and the Telangana State Archaeology Department has helped revive much of its former glory. Using ancient documentation and modern scanning techniques, they have carefully reassembled parts of the temple without compromising authenticity. Some historians believe that the artisans of the Kakatiya era were not merely craftsmen, but storytellers of stone. Each sculpture was a coded message, a way to preserve moral lessons, social traditions, and even astronomical events. The alignment of certain carvings with solar shadows during solstices shows how art, astronomy, and devotion merged into one seamless language. The rhythmic repetition of motifs like lotuses, lions, and dancers was also symbolic, representing purity, strength, and eternal motion. The engineering behind the thousand-pillar temple is nothing short of astonishing. Imagine lifting and aligning stone beams that weigh several tons without cranes, metal pulleys, or modern cement. The Kakatiyas achieved this through a deep understanding of geometry and counterweight mechanics. They used inclined planes, rollers made from tree trunks, and human coordination in perfect rhythm. This synchronization of effort reflected the philosophy that divine creation required collective harmony, an idea still relevant in modern teamwork and engineering. If we analyze these alignments mathematically, the ratios between the central sanctum and the surrounding corridors reveal knowledge of the golden ratio, a proportion found in nature, art, and even modern architecture. The use of sacred geometry wasn't merely aesthetic. It was meant to create a spatial vibration that calmed the mind. Visitors who meditate or chant inside the temple often describe a subtle resonance, as though the structure itself participates in their prayer. In those days, temple courtyards served as open universities. Students studied subjects ranging from astronomy and mathematics to sculpture and literature under the guidance of gurus. The rhythmic beats of traditional instruments echoed through these halls, marking not just religious festivals, but lessons in acoustics and music theory. Dancers practiced ancient forms like Parini Shivatandavam, a vigorous dance dedicated to Lord Shiva, believed to awaken spiritual energy in both performer and observer. Under his rule, Warangal transformed into a hub of innovation and trade. The king encouraged the documentation of architectural techniques, metal casting, and irrigation systems, leaving behind inscriptions that reveal the administrative wisdom of the era. It is believed that the temple's design inspired later architectural marvels across South India, influencing even the Vijayanagara and Chola dynasties. This temple, therefore, is not an isolated creation. It's a blueprint that carried forward an entire legacy of Indian temple design. One of the lesser-known facts is that the temple's floor plan also accounted for water management. Channels carved below the Jagati ensured rainwater was redirected without eroding the base. This kind of foresight reflects an early understanding of sustainable architecture, an idea modern cities are still learning to master. Even the placement of trees around the temple followed Vastu principles to regulate temperature and airflow naturally. Researchers studying the temple today use 3D laser scanning and vibration analysis to decode its construction. The findings suggest that each block was positioned to distribute load symmetrically, minimizing stress points, a concept that echoes through today's seismic-resistant architecture. What's remarkable is that these builders worked only with intuition, tradition, and experience, proving that wisdom need not always come from written science, but from observation and devotion. As the centuries pass and civilizations evolve, the thousand-pillar temple continues to bridge the ancient and the modern. Every scholar, traveler, or pilgrim who walks through its corridors contributes to its living legacy. Perhaps that is what makes it truly eternal. Not just its stones or carvings, but the spirit of curiosity and devotion it continues to inspire in every generation. Today, the Thousand-Pillar Temple stands as a protected heritage monument, recognized for its architectural brilliance and cultural significance. Visitors from around the world come here to study its craftsmanship and to feel the serenity it continues to radiate. When we look at monuments like this, we realize that ancient Indian builders were not just sculptors or masons. They were scientists, mathematicians, and engineers guided by deep spiritual philosophy. They understood vibration, resonance, and material behavior in ways modern engineers are still exploring. The harmony between aesthetic beauty and structural logic in this temple proves how advanced the Kakatiya civilization truly was. The 1,000-pillar temple also stands as a message across time that devotion and knowledge can coexist. It teaches us that architecture was once not merely about creating space, but about shaping emotion and energy. Every pillar, every carving, and every shadow tells us something profound. That when human intention aligns with divine purpose, even stone can speak. As dusk settles and the temple bells echo across Warangal, the carvings seem to come alive once again. The same hands that shaped these stones nearly 800 years ago have left behind more than art. They've left behind wisdom. The 1,000-pillar temple is not just a monument of the past. It is a reminder of what humanity can achieve through patience, precision, and purpose. It stands as a silent teacher, reminding us to build not only with our hands, but with our hearts. Even as time moves forward, this temple continues to whisper its timeless truth. That knowledge, when built on devotion, becomes eternal. But the story of this temple does not end with its stones. It continues in the traditions, the rituals, and the living heritage of the people who surround it. For centuries, festivals like Mahashivaratri and Kalyanotsavam have been celebrated here with the same devotion that once filled its ancient courtyards. Priests still recite verses in Sanskrit as the morning sun lights the sanctum, just as it did nearly a millennium ago. The Nandi Mandapa, with its monolithic Nandi carved from a single black basalt block, faces the main shrine, a symbol of devotion and guardianship. The detailing on the Nandi, from the folds of its skin to the necklace of bells, reflects the sculptor's devotion as much as his artistry. It is said that Nandi's calm gaze represents patience, faith, and the eternal bond between devotee and divinity. The surrounding gardens and the gentle sound of temple bells create an atmosphere that feels suspended in time. It's easy to imagine the Kakatiya kings walking through these very halls, accompanied by scholars, musicians, and artisans, all contributing to the grandeur of a living civilization. Beyond its physical beauty, the 1,000-pillar temple represents an entire philosophy of harmony between man and nature, science and spirituality, art and function. Every line, curve, and carving serves a purpose, either to tell a story, direct energy, or invoke emotion. It shows us that in ancient India, architecture was a form of prayer carved into stone. The Kakatiyas believed that creation itself was sacred. Their temples were designed to mirror the cosmic order, where geometry, music, and mathematics intertwined with devotion. The very layout of this temple, from its symmetrical shrines to the rhythmic spacing of its pillars, mirrors the mathematical precision of ancient Vastu Shastra and Sthapatya Veda, India's classical architectural texts. Standing here, one can almost feel the hum of that knowledge, a deep awareness of how sound, space, and energy coexist. Even the resonance of a conch or the ring of a temple bell was carefully calculated to vibrate at frequencies that calm the human mind. This was architecture not for spectacle, but for spiritual transformation. Today, as students, researchers, and travelers walk through these ancient corridors, they don't just see a monument. they encounter a message. A message that reminds us that progress and tradition are not opposites. They are continuations of the same human quest for meaning and beauty. When modern architects study sustainability, balance, and harmony, they are rediscovering what our ancestors already practiced centuries ago. Temples like this remind us that innovation is not always about creating something new. Sometimes it's about understanding something eternal. And so, the thousand-pillar temple stands not just as a masterpiece of stone, but as a living classroom, teaching future generations the language of design, devotion, and discipline. It urges us to look beyond the material and find the spirit within the creation. As twilight deepens over Warangal, the shadows of the pillars stretch across the ground like silent scriptures. This temple remains an eternal dialogue between the human and the divine, between what we build and what we believe.